Hello YouTube, this is Paul Sandhu, one of the hosts of Video Game Hangover. We're kicking off Season 2 of VGH with a look back at our top games of 2011, so you'll definitely want to check out episode 35, which was just released. You'll find us on iTunes and the Zune Marketplace, or you can head on over to VGHangover.com and find us there. I just want to give a quick thank you to all of our subscribers and listeners. You guys are amazing and we love you all. So then, let's get on with my top 5 games of 2011. Number 5 on my list is the incredible title Bastion by indie developer Supergiant Games. Indie developers are taking the world by storm, and Supergiant Games' debut title comes out of the gate roaring. With a team of only 7 people, that's right, 7, Supergiant has created one of the most enthralling titles of the year. Boasting some of the most gorgeous and lush artwork I've ever seen, Bastion truly is a sight to behold. Lead artist Gen Z absolutely needs to be commended for the quality of her work, especially when you consider that there are so many multi-million-dollar AAA titles released these days that use 3 colors for their entire palette, where 2 of those colors are just different shades of brown. Bastion simply assaults your eyes with gorgeous scene after gorgeous scene, but thankfully the rest of the production values are of equal quality. The soundtrack is simply incredible, and as someone that appreciates great game music, the Bastion soundtrack was a wonderful surprise. A lot has been said about the voiceover narration done by Logan Cunningham, but I'd be remiss not to mention it. His delivery is not only excellent, but it also adds an extra level of immersion and humanity to the story, which by the way was written by my favorite game journalist of all time, Greg Casavin. I think our reviews editor Matt Kernan put it quite nicely in his review when he said,
"The world of Caelondia is filled with vibrant color, yet still manages to maintain an overall somber quality that helps to accentuate the mood of the narrative."
If the off-the-charts production value weren't enough, Bastion also features some of the best 2D action gameplay I've seen in a long time. The action features a combination of melee and ranged combat, and actually rewards the player for finesse and skill. Sure, you could just try to smash your way through most of the enemies, but you'd be missing out on some of the more satisfying elements of the gameplay if you went that route. It's obvious that a lot of thought and passion was put into Bastion's design from top to bottom. Supergiant Games has quickly become a developer to keep an eye on, and with their masterful execution of this title, Bastion takes the number 5 spot on my best of 2011 list.
And then he falls to his death. I'm just fooling.
It is one of my greatest gaming shames that I've never actually completed the original Portal. Though in my defense, I did get about 90% through the game. Come to think of it, that's not much of a defense. My co-host DJ Ross really let me have it when we did our Portal 2 themed episode, so please be merciful in the comments. Portal 2's easy to learn but difficult to master gameplay mechanics resonated with me immediately. The game does a fantastic job easing you into how to play, and before you know it, you'll be solving complex puzzles in no time. I absolutely adored the new gameplay elements as well. Especially the light bridges, and yeah, even the goo grew on me after a while too. It takes a deft hand to design puzzles that are not only engaging, but difficult enough that when everything clicks, you have that magical aha moment. And then get that overwhelming sense of satisfaction. Portal 2 nailed it. One of my favorite highlights of Portal 2 is the return to the intelligent, quirky humor that made the first game so damn memorable. Comedic games are still a rather rare gem in the industry, so Portal 2's consistent stream of laughs was such a welcome treat. Ultimately, my favorite part of Portal 2 was the co-op mode. What I really liked was how in the co-op puzzle mode, complexity is increased and teamwork is the name of the game. In episode number 33 of the VGH podcast, my co-host DJ suggested Portal 2 as a game he would use to introduce a non-gamer loved one to the joys of video games, and I couldn't agree more. Seriously folks, all you gamer guys and gals out there, if you need a perfect title to ease a non-gamer into gaming, this is it. You'll have to work as a team, solving clever puzzles, and the sense of teamwork and bonding that ensues is a perfect bridge to convert those non-gamers into full-time gamers. With its incredible puzzle platforming gameplay, hilarious characters, and intelligent narrative, Portal 2 nails down the number 4 spot on my top games of 2011. I never asked for this game, but boy am I glad I got it. I'm a huge fan of the original Deus Ex. In fact, I'd say it's one of my favorite games of all time. The original title was quite a revolution at the time, and while the sequel wasn't terrible per se, it just didn't measure up to the original. That's why I didn't even bother to pay attention to any news surrounding Human Revolution until it came out. However, during a summer lull, I took a chance and got the game. Man, oh man, what a pleasant surprise. Human Revolution just goes to show you that if you need a franchise revived, let my fellow Canadians handle it. But in all seriousness, I was simply blown away by just how much I enjoyed Human Revolution, especially since I had zero expectations for the title. And then, it turned into one of my most enjoyable gaming experiences of the year. I was very pleased to see that Human Revolution brought back all of the over-the-top, gratuitous, conspiracy theory nonsense from the original. I absolutely adored the narrative's combination of cyberpunk with cloak and dagger sensibilities. What I found most surprising, though, was just how attached I got to all of the characters that inhabit Human Revolution. I found myself really caring for the protagonist Adam Jensen, as the game did a fantastic job of letting me imprint my personality on top of his already established character. The writing was so solid that I began to feel protective of Jensen's pilot Malik, and I actually found the annoying Pritchard somewhat charming by the game's conclusion. Fantastic stuff all around. Ultimately, I was most impressed with the way Eidos Montreal was able to capture the most important elements of the original title and update them so they felt fresh again. Customizing Jensen to suit your playstyle is extremely rewarding and pays off the more you specialize. The semi-open world city designs were excellent and helped deepen my immersion with the game. I am very happy to see this once dead franchise back from the grave. So with its incredible narrative and engaging, fluid gameplay, Deus Ex Human Revolution solidifies the number 3 spot on my best of 2011 list. If you've seen my Skyrim review, then you know just how highly I regard it. If you haven't seen the review, I recommend giving it a quick watch for my complete thoughts on the game. Boasting a seemingly endless array of content, Skyrim is the kind of game you can just get completely lost in for hours on end. The game world is incredibly detailed, and is an absolute joy to explore. Bethesda should be applauded for the sheer amount of detail and scope that they've achieved with the world of Skyrim. Jeremy Soul's incredible soundtrack adds an extra layer of emotion to the proceedings, and run the gamut from the incredible atmospheric to the over-the-top, epic main theme. Where Skyrim really shines, though, is the incredibly deep and accessible gameplay. It's just so much fun to start off with your character as nothing more than a blank slate, and slowly craft them into your ideal hero, or villain if that's your style. If you're the type of person that enjoys action-adventure and just loves to run around exploring, Skyrim is for you. If you're the type of person that enjoys blowing enemies up with spells, Skyrim is for you. If you're not seeing a pattern here yet, Skyrim is for you. One small suggestion though, if you're one of the few people that is interested in Skyrim that doesn't already own it, I highly recommend picking up the PC version of the game if possible. If only because the modding community that works on these Bethesda titles is pretty incredible. And I fully expect to see some really interesting work created over the next few months. Skyrim easily took the number 2 spot on my list this year with this absurd number of quests, ridiculously large game world, and incredibly deep gameplay. I felt there was only one game that I enjoyed ever so slightly more than Skyrim. This is it, my favorite game of 2011. One of the best things about The Witcher 2 is how it is one of those rare sequels that improves on an original title in every single way. The game is based on the series of novels by Polish author Andrzej Sapkowski and stars Geralt of Rivia as the titular Witcher, a professional monster slayer. Geralt of Rivia has quickly become my absolute favorite protagonist in gaming. Yep, even more than Commander Shepard. Especially since no one would dare say something like this.
Shit, you sound like a pussy.
To Geralt of Rivia. But I digress. Just like in Deus Ex, I really enjoyed being able to impart my sensibilities onto Geralt's intriguing backstory and characterization. Geralt is by no means a blank slate, but The Witcher 2 does such an incredible job at allowing the player to create their own story and their own personal version of Geralt. I'm a huge fan of the current trend in modern games that have conversation trees and morality systems that affect the storyline. But I do take issue with how most games have an almost binary approach to these decision points. The fact is, most games with these features basically let the player choose between being a knight in shining armor or a complete and utter psychopath, with little in between. For example, unlike the Mass Effect series, which I absolutely adore, The Witcher 2's conversation and morality system feels a hell of a lot more organic, and is far more nuanced in execution. I especially loved how even the most innocuous decision could have a lasting and completely unforeseen ramifications much later in the story. The absolute best part of the way these gameplay systems are implemented, though, is how everything feels fair. You're never gonna feel like you missed out on some great loot or a cool side story because of how you choose to play. The Witcher 2 also boasts one of the most mature narratives I've ever seen, dealing with subject matter that is rarely ever touched in most games. The world of The Witcher 2 is absolutely stunning and wrought with ugly brutality, bloody wars, and sometimes complete despair. But as a counterbalance, it's also filled with jaw-dropping beauty, raw sensuality, and some silly humor. The Witcher 2 is a lovingly crafted title, and the production values are off the charts. If you're lucky enough to have a PC that can run the game with maxed out settings, you're in for one hell of a visual feast of epic proportions. The music is incredible as well, ranging from pulse-pounding battle music to beautifully somber ballads during some of the more dramatic scenes. The real-time battle system is engaging and offers a consistent challenge and thrill. The Witcher 2 is one of the most enjoyable titles I've played in years and is simply a masterpiece. It's going to be coming out for the Xbox 360 later this year, and I think The Witcher 2 will finally get the recognition it deserves once it reaches a larger market. It really was a close call, but my top game of 2011 is The Witcher 2. Few games come close to achieving the kind of quality experience CD Projekt has crafted, and I am eagerly awaiting their next title.
At least I'll die holding a lovely ass.
Wow, 2011 may go down as one of the best years in gaming history. The sheer quality of titles released last year was pretty staggering. There were so many fantastic games that didn't even crack my top 5. So, what were your favorite games of 2011? Let us know in the comments. Also, you should definitely subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet, and you can also check out our podcast at vghangover.com. VGH has some big plans in store for 2012, and we plan on releasing a lot more video content over the next few weeks as well. This is Paul Sandhu, thanks for watching.